Hi everyone, it's Maeve. Today I'm going to be doing my April reading wrap up. It has been a while since I posted a video. April is always a crazy month for me. I have almost every family member has an April birthday in my family, including myself. And then I have a few friends and friends of partners that also have birthdays in April. So it's pretty crazy. Along with birthdays, there's a lot of spring cleaning I'm doing and outdoor work that I'm doing. I might insert a clip of my ducks that I have because I recently got ducks and I am loving them. But without further ado, let's get into my wrap up. So in April, I read a total of 5 books. 2 of those books were off of my shelves, and the other 3 are books that I borrowed from my library. Again, out of those 5, 4 of those are actually recommendations from other booktubers, so I'm really excited to highlight those. One of my goals for this year was to read more books that I was hearing about from people on BookTube, and I feel like I'm doing really well with that, and it's been a lot of fun. So starting with the books off of my shelves, I finished Poison in Their Hearts by Sebastian. This is the final book in the Castles and Their Bones trilogy, and I am giving the trilogy overall a 4.5 star. I really enjoyed this YA fantasy series. It follows these 3 sisters who are basically raised by their mother, who is an empress, to go and marry the next in line for these 3 different countries, and then take over the government and basically position things for their mother to have power over all 3 countries. This fantasy series has a really unique magic system where you are literally pulling stars from the sky to grant wishes or make wishes, and those wishes come with consequences, not only losing those stars from the sky forever, but the people who pull these stars down have a usually physical or mental repercussion for pulling these stars down. I really enjoyed this series. I think my main complaint is that the author has a few phrases that she likes to use a lot, one of which is a smile that didn't quite reach their eyes. And she uses that phrase at least twice per book, and it was just a little much for me. There was another phrase she used, but obviously she didn't use it enough for me to remember what it was. But otherwise, I really enjoyed this series. I think it's really great. If you still enjoy YA, I highly recommend it. I think that this would be really good for either an older YA audience or even an adult audience. But this is my first series completed off of my shelves for this year, which I'm running quite a bit behind. I was hoping to finish 10 series off of my shelves, and I'm only at 1. So the next book that I read off of my shelves was 365 Days by Ronald Glasser. And I'm actually just going to put up the picture here since I don't have a nice cover for this. I just have a old hardback with no dust jacket. This book was a not direct recommendation, but this was a book that I heard about on Nigel's channel at Reading Ideas. I will have his channel linked down below. I recently had read The Warm Hands of Ghosts, which is a historical fiction following a field nurse and her brother who is a soldier who goes missing. I was really interested in reading another book that was from the medical perspective of a war, and I am not one who reads very many nonfiction books that are focused on wars. But when I watched Nigel's video, I became very interested in this book, and when commenting on this video, he really highly recommended it to me. This book focuses on the Vietnam War, and you are getting stories not only from Glasser's experience, but also the experiences of some of the soldiers that he worked on. There is a short paragraph in his foreword that I wanted to read that gives you a more concrete idea of what you would be getting into if you read this book. And he writes, "The stories I have tried to tell here are true. Those that happened in Japan I was part of. The rest are from the boys I met. I would have liked to disbelieve some of them, and at first I did. But I was there long enough to hear the same stories again and again, and then to see part of it myself." I have a really hard time putting into words my thoughts and feelings on this book. I want to say that I enjoyed it, but enjoying hearing these really heartbreaking stories and recollections is not the right word. I'm glad that I read it. I'm glad that I now have this perspective of the Vietnam War that I never had before. I'm heartbroken with the experiences that not only Glasser, but these soldiers that he worked with went through. I really do recommend this book for anyone who wants to learn more about the Vietnam War or just the mental and physical effects that wars have on these soldiers and on these medical personnel. I am definitely keeping this book on my shelves, and I do think that I want to reread it again in the future. Moving on to happier books, I guess I would say. I read a second nonfiction in April. It's called 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman. This one I checked out from the library. I heard about this book on Steffi's channel at The Books That Teach Us. This is a really thought-provoking nonfiction that makes you take a hard look at how long the average lifespan is and what you're doing with the time that you have. Are you putting time into the things that make you happy, that you're passionate about? Or are you just taking life day by day, trying to get through the day? I really enjoyed this book. I'm going to be picking it up and putting it on my shelves. And I'm so glad that I read this recommendation from Steffi. The last two books that I read in April are both sci-fi. I read Saturation Point by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and I heard about this book from Rachel at The Shades of Orange. I am really liking Tchaikovsky's books. Every single one that I've read so far, I've really enjoyed. This one I gave a 4.75. It wasn't my favorite of his works, but I did still really enjoy it. If you have read Jeff Vandermeer's The Southern Reach trilogy, I think that you would really enjoy Saturation Point. It follows a similar premise, but it has its own unique story at the same time. In this story, you are following a scientist who once worked on an area of land where they were trying to produce better food for this crumbling civilization. The project was closed for reasons that the scientist doesn't know, and then she is pulled back into this area that's been closed off for years. She's sent in with a group of people. She doesn't have a lot of knowledge on why they're there or what they're doing. And these reveals happen along the journey that just are really gripping and interesting. I, again, really enjoyed this. I will be picking it up and adding it to my shelves. The last book that I read in April was The River Has Roots by Amal El-Mohtar. They also wrote This Is How You Lose the Time War, which I have read and gave 5 stars to. This book, I didn't quite give 5 stars. It was a 4.75. It was really close, but comparing it to This Is How You Lose the Time War, I liked it just slightly less. This is more of a fantasy story rather than a sci-fi, and it follows these 2 sisters and their individual journeys with finding love, falling in love, and how that affects their relationship as sisters. This has some of the most beautiful quotes, and if you don't like purple prose, you might not like this. But I loved it. I will be picking it up. I thought it was fantastic, and I can't wait for more books from Amal El-Mohtar. This one I actually heard about from 2 different people, Rabin from Only the Best Fantasy Novels and Shae from Serial Geeks Out. I will have all of these channels that I mentioned down below, and I do hope that you check them out. As always, I will also have a list of channels that I feel are highly underrated, and I hope you check out those channels as well. How was your reading month for April? Do you have spring cleaning projects that you do in April, or do you do them a little earlier in the year, or do you skip spring cleaning altogether? Let me know in the comments down below. My favorite thing about YouTube is talking to you in my comments and in your comments. I will see you all in my next video. Bye.